So I guess we'll start with that anyway, the battle event, because you're battling Hoey, right?
Yeah, sure am, man. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, are you excited for that?
Yeah, I am really. I'm really excited for it because, yeah, Hoey is a comedian, but Hoey's also a massive hip hop fan. Like, that's where him and I, not only did we bond when I first met him at a stand-up comedy show, and, you know, I love doing stand-up and I've done it for a while, but yeah, he knows his hip hop shit, man. He really respects the culture. He's followed it since he was a kid. He's very in tune with a lot of American hip hop, not so much with Australia stuff. He actually grew up in Western Sydney, not far from Curse.
Yeah,
you know
wow.
what I mean? Yeah,
no
yeah.
way.
So I think one of his mates owned a fish and chip shop that Curse used to go to when he was young. So he actually kind of grew up in the mix, and yeah, so it's interesting to meet him, get to know each other. We really bonded over doing stand-up together, but also he really respects me and really appreciates what I do for hip-hop, and he was really honoured to work with me, you know. And likewise with stand-up, I love meeting like-minded individuals with stand-up comedy because it can be a bit rare in Australia, the stand-up scene. Yeah, you know, have different people from all walks of life, but the Australian sort of comedy industry was really built for people that aren't like me and Hoey as much, you know what I mean? So
what do you sort of mean by that, bro? Because I love comedy, but I haven't dived into the scene here at all.
Australian comedy can be pretty interesting in the sense of how can I put it? Well, the industry was pretty much set up by ABC, you know what I mean? It was very Triple J, hand in hand sort of thing. So similar like how Triple J was for certain artists, and you had to kind of fit in the goalpost. It's changed now with Triple J because they chased the trend. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And because Triple J kind of decided the goalpost of what successful music was until artists ended up outdoing Triple J because Triple J didn't support them. Curse is a great example of, you know, Curse didn't fit in their goalposts. They didn't support him, so he made it his mission to become bigger than Triple J without their help. And so now I see Triple J is more chasing the trend. You know, that's what labels are doing. That's what Warner, Sony, all these labels, they're trying to see what's new and hot, whereas they used to decide what was new and hot. Not anymore, you know what I mean? Whereas stand-up comedy, it's definitely kind of happening in the same sense because like around the time that I was kind of getting in the scene just before, if you wanted to be a successful comedian in Australia, you had to go spend years doing all the right rooms, meet the right people, network within the industry, and then get in the waiting line to become, you know, the comedian that gets a spot in the project, that gets put on some little like TV game show with comedians in Australia, hosted by Tom Gleeson, you know. And then you get to work the best comedy rooms around the country, and there's quite something set up for that. But you have to enter the certain kind of group of people. And when I was kind of coming up, I realised a few of my mates that were not really allowed into that area, or they were gate kept out of it. They just went, sweet, I'm going to do my own thing, exactly like Cursor did. You know, Lewis Spears is a great example. He really followed a similar blueprint that Cursor did with hip-hop, but Lewis did it with comedy. And even though he wasn't really accepted into those circles, he went, all right, I'll build my own. And, you know, through YouTube and social media, he, you know, tours around the country, sells thousands of tickets without the help of any industry. And I think, the same deal, TV is now trying to catch up with the internet. You know, if you look on Sunrise, they'll talk about the most viral videos. You know, everyone's trying to fucking catch up with the internet because now the internet's key, you know.
Do you think the internet makes it easier or harder for people to make a career out of their music, comedy, whatever you want to choose?
Way easier. Yeah. It's definitely way more oversaturated now. Compared to, you know, 15 years ago. I say if you got in on the internet 15 years ago, you're sitting pretty now. But coming into the internet now as an artist, you really have to do something quite different to stand out from the world. But still, once again, the fact that we have access to YouTube, the fact that, you know, like yourself, bro, you know, just with what you've built with your platform, if there wasn't the internet and social media accessible, you know, to set something up like this, you know, technology's changed a lot too, man. You know what I mean? Like in 2010, having a podcast room like this with this many microphones and all this sort of stuff was rare.
Yeah.
Now, you know, a fellow like yourself can, you know, set it up pretty, do it yourself, boom, 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 boom. And as long as you're consistent and you're releasing engaging content, you're going to do all right. You know what I mean? Whereas, yeah, I know there's people that have way more gear than this and way more ideas, but they're not, they're too worried. I think like the do it yourself, less is more is the answer now. You know what I mean? Like in my experience of watching people, you know, I know people that have built the craziest recording studios and they spend so much time worrying about what's in the studio and how it looks rather than what's happening in the studio.
Yeah.
You know, and I think when it comes to creating, what's in the creation is more powerful than all the sprinkles on the cake that you can kind of give through the idea of everything, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I feel like, I think people kind of relate to it or connect with it more now if they get the feeling that it is just someone talking shit or whatever, rather than, you know, this massive production with all these camera angles and this and that. Like, it kind of like disconnects the viewer from the people on the content.
And because we've got so much access, you know, like in the 90s, you watch TV, you didn't think twice about this sort of shit. Whereas like now we can really, we are so much more analytical, I think, due to the internet and also having so much content to analyze. Is very quickly, you can see what's authentic, you can see what's not. And, you know, people are craving realness, man. The youth are craving realness. The youth see it more than anyone. You know, the youth see every person's agenda behind what they think they're doing. These kids are switched on. They've grown up with this shit now, you know. And, yeah, I feel like a lot of the youth that I connect with and communicate with, they just need the raw truth, man. And that's where their anxiety's coming from. Because they see everyone carrying on with their masks that get exaggerated through social media. That's what the rawest people on the internet now are blowing up because they're like, that's what we need. People that speak the truth that aren't scared to say shit, you know, especially around this hyper, you're going to get cancelled if you say the wrong thing, you know. It's very interesting, man. Yeah.
What do you think about that with rap music, bro? The whole cancel culture and kind of the, particularly in Australia, the perception on rap and how people are so quick to judge and try and shut down certain artists?
Australia is an interesting one because people try to... You can't get cancelled, man. Unless you're working on TV and you're in that industry, you can't get cancelled because of the internet.
Yeah.
They tried... Alex Jones, man, you know, he's still Alex Jones. And he still will go do this and do that. So the idea of cancelling makes... People are trying to get cancelled now. Exactly. Matt Rife, the comedian, he specifically got cancelled so it will blow up. So and this is the thing, this is the laws of attraction. You try and stop something, it's going to go twice as hard. You know, and that's usually the case. But at the same time, I feel like, well, at the end of the day, it's anyone's right to say whatever the fuck they want, you know, whether it's good or bad. I feel that what you put out to the universe is what you'll get back, so it comes down to the individual, and that's a lesson that every individual will learn in their own due course, you know. But I think a big part of people shutting down rap in Australia comes down to a cultural cringe issue, where, you know, like tall poppy syndrome mixes in with cultural cringe. Australia is a young country that lied about its history, and when you lie about your history, your identity gets confused. You know what I mean? And yeah, it's been quite common in Australia. It's quite a split between the Australian and like a lot of the world that doesn't identify with it, because that traditional Australian was attached to a lot of dark shit. Whether it be, I know, and I've noticed this with my journey of just, you know, like the accent debate, for example. I noticed you talked about the accent debate. Like, I was born in America. My father's from Boston. He has a strong American accent. So it was always very confronting to me when I'd hear people rapping American accents in Australia. Not so much from my perspective of, trying to tell people what you have to do. It was more that I was getting triggered by the trauma I had from my American family. So when I'd see an Australian using an American accent when they actually haven't been to America, or they don't have any American friends, it not only like it confused me because I'm like, why are you doing it? But it triggered me. So that was my reaction. These days I'm a lot more different. But I think the reason why a lot of people do that, it leads back to this cultural cringe issue. Because Australia is uncertain in its identity as Australian. A lot of people try and fit in with the bigger influences, whether it be UK or America. And this has been very apparent during TV and radio history, because when Australian TV kind of really came together in the 70s, they were trying to fit in with the American, imperialism and pioneer of media. America was a massive pioneer in Hollywood music, radio, all this sort of culture, TV shows, Tonight shows, all that sort of stuff. England definitely had its own evolution and all that sort of stuff too, but America pioneered it. So, if you look at, Rodney Rood's a great example, and I've talked about him a few times, but he was a comedian that he travelled America as a comedian in the 70s, and he came back to Australia, and he went on Hey Hey Saturday to do comedy, and after doing it a couple of times, he was too Aussie for the show because the show was trying to fit in with America.
Right.
But mind you, Rodney Rood had just been doing comedy in America for 10 years as an Australian. Which is the irony is Australia is trying to fit in with America, but America actually wants us to be Australian. They liked us for Crocodile Dundee. That's why they liked us.
Yeah.
They don't want to hear an Australian pretending to be American. You know what I mean?
Well, it's going to be painfully obvious to them too, I would imagine.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And then not so obvious for the Australians, I don't think, at least for me. But I still think quite easily, especially recently, I listened to a track that had an Australian doing an American accent with an American guy featuring on it, and having that real accent side by side to the fake one made it painfully obviously fake.
Exactly. Yeah, that's it. And it just, I mean, depending who you are and what your influence is, that'll make you cringe. But Australia does have quite a culture of like, oh, you're trying to do something, that's cringe. You know what I mean? And that's just linking in with tall poppy syndrome. And that's once again, like, Americans have such a, we're American and we're proud. Australia doesn't have that as much. It's got some dumbass patriot racist sort of, I'm proud to be Australian. But it's not, it doesn't come so much with, like, America has, for even like the manners. You go to the South, a lot of people, South full of rednecks. You go to the South, man, well-mannered people.
Okay,
very well-mannered, well-dressed. Yes, sir. Like, that's a massive testament to the South that gets forgotten about because everyone's too busy pointing at the rednecks. They're going to be proud Americans, so they carry themselves with dignity where they're kind and nice people. It's very interesting, man.
Where do you think the tall poppy syndrome stems from in Australia, and how could we go about trying to do our part in pushing that away?
It comes from our convict history. It comes from our isolation. It comes from trauma. Like if you look to the history of the early colonization of this country, the majority of people that were coming out here were convicts. There were always more convicts than the soldiers, so the convicts outweighed the soldiers most times. And once again, you're talking about people that were sent across the other side of the world, away from their family, put through dystopian levels of abuse and trauma through the, penal system. And then they all got out and had to start again, and we don't really have much culture. We don't have any bright culture. The most culture that I see really in what the colonised Australia was that isn't any other multicultural, because now Australia is a beautiful multicultural place with lots of different cultures and different pockets, but in those early years of colonisation it was just there was the blackfella culture that was here, and then fucking colonisation figuring itself out, and so I really think that it's that kind of tall poppy syndrome that links in with the stay in your place syndrome of like, you know, we're all shit cunts, we're all convicts.
Right.
You know, like, yeah, voting in Australia only became compulsory because no one would vote for anyone.
Right.
Every time one person would be like, oh, I'm going to be the mayor or the prime minister, everyone else went, look at this fucking dickhead.
Right.
You know what I mean? We really have that culture of like, don't stand out from the rest, or if anyone tries to be the leader, it's like an ego thing, you know what I mean? And yeah, so I really think that one about Australia making voting compulsory based off the fact the first, I think, 3 elections that they did, which was in Adelaide, yeah, no one would vote. Everyone was just like, man, what a dickhead.
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah.
I don't think I would have. Like, if I'm honest,
exactly, and we're still like that.
Yeah,
you know, like,
I wouldn't vote if I didn't have to. I actually, half the time, I don't vote, and I just
I've
cop
never
the fine.
voted. Yeah. And whenever they try and find me, I'm like, no, I'm homeless. And they're like, okay.
Oh, shit.
Yeah,
Maybe I should say
bro.
that.
Yeah, say it, bro. Just go, no, I'm homeless at the moment, and just start telling them a sob story, bro. They'll
waive it.
Yeah, they'll waive it.
I might do that, bro.
Yeah, go hard, bro. Go for it. Fuck them. You know what I mean? But like, I don't know. It's an interesting one because I do pay attention to a lot of the corruption on a deeper level, whether it be through research or what I find out in the real world. And I really struggle to, vote for people that I don't agree with on a moral level.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to for me as well, bro. Like, I don't know enough specifically about the politicians that are at play now because I don't pay any attention to it. But I've heard enough and seen enough over the time to understand that almost all the time they've got some pretty fucking dark behaviours that I don't really want to support, you know?
Yeah, that's it.
And it's like...
And they're not common people.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, occasionally every now and then you'll get a politician who's a real person that actually connects with the community. But you look at these freaks, man, they ain't the common man, bro.
Yeah.
You know, like, and they don't know how to go places and talk to people, so everyone's like, well, fuck them. And I do feel that, like, you know, a big part of Australian history that definitely is swept under the carpet, the convict mentality that is in the subconscious of Australia, you know, because even most of Australia, if you can trace back their ancestry, leads back to, you know, convict heritage. And I feel that psyche of that subconscious is definitely what shaped the colonised Australia that is rapidly expanding, you know what I mean? Like, it's still that way in some corners that you go, you know, the racist aspect of Australia. But I'm just so stoked. The more I watch this country grow, the more different cultures come into this country, you know. Growing up in Tassie in the 90s, it was a very fucking white place, you know, because of the hectic history down there. You know, there was maybe only 2 African guys at my school and 1 Asian guy, you know, and now it's very different. There's so many different cultures, and it's beautiful.
That's been good for Tasmania, the cultural diversity?
Yeah, definitely. And I think cultural diversity is good for any place so long as it doesn't get too caught in the political fucking arguments of it, you know. And you look at any community, especially here in Melbourne, and you know, there's some beautiful multicultural places that you see everyone are enjoying themselves and getting along. Doesn't matter where you're from. Everyone's coming for a good life, you know.
Yeah.
But,
and even the food, bro.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Well,
like,
we need that food, bro, because the white fella food in this country is trash.
You
know what
exactly,
I mean? Like, fucking...
Yeah.
We need that, you know, like, and that's trash because, once again, it was started by a bunch of convicts that had to start again, man. Like, it's just, in the same way that, like, you know, I watched an interesting podcast with a guy called Old Pops with a fella called Charleston White, and he talks about the history of slavery in America and black culture there. They had to start again, man. They were people that were completely disconnected from their roots, you know. Australia is a bit different in the sense of, like, it was still built by England. It's still an English colonised country. You look at all the old colonial buildings that are now filled with American corporate stores. It was still built by England, but because the majority of the people that came out here were convicts that hated England, you know. And if you actually look back just before they started transportation, the royals were actually, you know, so sick of, because England's a small place. England landmass is about the same size as Tasmania.
Really?
Yeah,
I didn't realise that.
Yeah, if you put them next to each other, they're not much different.
Yeah, okay.
So if you think about
That's
what the
crazy.
population was in England back then, It was really the royals just trying to get rid of the common people and push them away. So the royals created these hectic laws, like if you steal a handkerchief, we're going to send you to the other side of the world.
Right. So they weren't laws that were already in place. They were created.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, well, they definitely increased them.
Right.
And, you know, no doubt you just get hung or something for similar stuff.
Yeah.
But the idea, if you look at the history of transportation and the laws that were made around that due to the royal family and all that sort of stuff, that was strategically... It was a strategic system of colonisation and also getting rid of what they didn't want around them, and also the British expansion of taking over the world.
It's pretty crazy that such a small place can have that much power and control.
Yeah, man.
You know?
Yeah. Well, you know, if you look at the history of England, of, you know, the dominating cultures that took over it was William the Conqueror, who... he was the first Viking to become the King of England in 1050.
Right.
Yeah, and he came in and changed shit up, bro. He came in and made England speak French for 300 years.
Right.
Yeah, so the English you and I are speaking is actually influenced by 300 years of French from the year 1050 to like 1350. Yeah.
As opposed to American English?
Yeah, well, this is before America.
Right.
Yeah. No, but the English that is
Everyone
the worldwide English.
Yeah, wow.
Is influenced by 300 years of French.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Okay.
But, and then as well, the inbreeding of like the royal family, which wasn't done correctly, ended up leading to all sorts of different blood disorders that came with dominant behaviour and mania. And if you look at the British expansion and the mentality that was behind it, you can actually link it back to dominant behaviour that came from poor practice of inbreeding and bloodlines, because of how chaotic the early foundations of England were when the Vikings came in and all that sort of shit, because there was so much raping and pillaging happening. And yeah, chaos, man.
So there's a right way, like, or a healthy way genetically to do inbreeding.
Yeah, there definitely is, and it's practiced massively across the world in all sorts of different cultures, whether it's Indian, Arab, Aboriginal, Native American, Māori. You know, the thing is, if you study ancestry, we're all related at some point. We all have common ancestors. Just depends when and where and how far back you have to go to figure it out. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there was systems put in place by different cultures to make sure that there weren't issues in, you know, because when it's a chromosomal issue, so when you're having kids with someone that you're closely related to on your father's side, you know, DNA gets crossed over in a negative way, and that's where, you know, you get all sorts of negative outcomes. But traditionally, if you're having kids with someone on your mother's side, it's not an issue. You know?
Right.
So,
Okay.
Yeah. So there's many cultures that still marry their first cousins.
Yeah.
It's still legal in Tasmania to marry your first cousin.
It's legal in Tasmania.
Yeah.
I didn't realise that.
It probably is in Australia too, man. These are old laws that, once again, this taboo is really, and the lack of education and understanding it. And I think that comes back to a colonial system of last names, where like, no, you're a Smith now.
Right.
And because English history, they wrote down all their ancestry, people have lost the value for it, because it's like, it's all right, I don't need to know, it's in a book in the cupboard, you know what I mean? Whereas other cultures like Māori, they didn't have a written language. So like, I've got a mate from New Zealand who can recite his father's father back for 48 generations, and they never wrote that down, they passed it on. You know, and that's where I feel a big part of our culture as fucking Western world and white people especially, we've lost the respect for our ancestors. Most people are just like, I don't know who my second great grandmother is, and it's like, well, do you care about your kids? Because you're only the kids of the kids that she was. You know what I mean? And we have to realise, I think this is a big part of finding ourselves, is understanding where we came from, to realise where we're going, to get some perspective. Because if we don't understand our ancestors, we're just wandering around like, yeah, well, I'm here for 60 to 80 years and that's it. You know what I mean?
It's just about you.
Yeah, 100%. But I find that there's irony in the fact that people don't care about their ancestry and their history, but claim they care about their kids.
Yeah.
Because it's all one, man. We're eternal.
Yeah.
And we're a product of our ancestors. So if we don't honour them, we're not honouring ourselves.
It's really interesting you say that, bro, because I notice a disconnect between even grandparents, especially with white people. Like, I got a lot of Islander mates from Tonga and Samoa, and they're very big on family.
Yeah.
Very big on family. And they know their cousins, they know their uncles, aunties, grandpa, and they all see each other regularly, whereas I don't even know what my cousins would be into, bro. I know I got cousins, first cousins, out there somewhere doing something.
Yeah,
I wouldn't know what. I haven't
100%,
spoken to them. And even my grandparents, you know, there's a big disconnect there.
Yeah, man.
And so why would you care about your grandkids if you don't care about your grandparents? Not that I don't care about my grandparents, but you know what I'm saying.
Bro, it's a cultural thing.
Yeah.
And that's a product of colonisation.
Yeah, right.
And that's a product of, the last name system that is in, you know, white colonisation, you know, and that has become the template as, you know, countries have been colonised and indigenous people have been forced into, you know, like all across the world. And that's it, like, you know, Samoan, Tongan, all the islander communities, they still have a structure for that family, you know. Like, for example, if, you know, a parent passes, you've got someone in the family that takes on that kid. They have a system for all that. Aunties and uncles have their responsibilities, you know, everything like that. Whereas due to this systemized way that England colonized the world in the way that it has, it's categorizing humans. Do you know what I mean? Like, and the more that us as white people have been categorized and we've lost that tribal connection, you know what I mean? And that's why, and we've lost culture, you know what I mean? And that's why, like, for example, as a young white Australian man, I latched on to hip hop, which is predominantly a black culture from America, because when I was growing up, there was nothing culturally around me that I could identify with for who I was, you know what I mean? And so I think that hip hop spreading across the world and becoming one of the most predominant cultures that is practiced now worldwide. Because if we look at hip hop in the last 40 years, 50 years, it's gone from a tiny subculture in one city across the world to global corporate level of, you know, hip hop. Like, so, you know, the biggest McDonald's #1 sponsor is a hip hop artist. You know what I mean? Like, even the biggest corporate companies in the world are looking at hip hop for marketing.
I feel like, so what you're saying, like, with having a system in place for all these different cultures, for what happens in this situation, what happens in that situation, that definitely has pros and cons too, though, right? Because one of my best mates, for example, shout out if you're listening, I won't name you, but you'll know it's you. He's from Tonga, and his father's not in the picture. His mum has remarried, and that guy works in the mines. So for 2 weeks at a time, my mate's mum is at home by herself. Now, in Tongan tradition, the oldest son has a duty to stay at the house and look after his mum. So he's a couple of years older than me. He's in his late 20s. He's not allowed to move out of home because he has to look after his mum, which is, you know, it's a nice thing to do. But he is in a place in Orange where there's so much suicide around him, amongst his mates, his cousins. The drug use is insane. You know, everyone's on drugs. Everywhere he goes, he's trying to stay sober, and he's been doing well at the moment, but it's been a pattern where he's getting on a good track, and then because he's around it and he can't escape it, he ends up back there. So I don't know. I find that interesting. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. And
it's very interesting, man, because like for, you know, islanders that are living in Australia, where they still have strong cultural responsibilities, like, you know, looking after your mother and things like that, whereas once again, substance abuse, all these things which are a product of trauma and lack of family connection, you know, a lot of substance abuse comes from the lack of dopamine in the brain. And if the family is disconnected and doesn't have a strong love language within the family, you don't get much dopamine,
right.
You know, or if there's any negative, you know, domestic violence or psychological abuse, whatever type of abuse, emotional, sexual, physical, any type, people are not getting the dopamine and people are getting trauma, so therefore they lead to substance abuse to get the dopamine hit.
Right.
You know, so this is why you see someone that comes from a fractured family is more likely to be susceptible to drug addiction. Yeah, and what those substance abuse gets learnt in the family. This is like, you know, Australia's got a massive issue with drinking generationally, you know, and it's because that was the accepted public government approved tax drug that you can all get fucked on, even though we know how much domestic violence it causes.
Yeah.
But once again, the prison system's profitable as well, so make money off the alcohol, make money off the prison, and keep the people drinking and fighting, no worries. That's where I really see that. You know, for people out there like your friend that have cultural responsibilities, I think that, you know, the family is key. Family is the most important thing ever. And you know, I came from a very disconnected, broken family, which led me to living a very nomadic lifestyle where I had to I didn't feel as accepted by my family unit. I felt like the black sheep, as you know, people would say. I didn't fit in one side, I didn't fit in the other, and I kind of found hip hop as my identity. But as I'm getting to 35 years of age, I'm realizing that I've built a massive world with hip hop, but my responsibility is to my family, and I'm working towards being more committed towards that. You know, and I'm very blessed that my family are safe, and you know, they live an alright life, and you know, there's been trauma in my family, but it hasn't led to a few negative outcomes that I've seen a lot of other people go through. So, you know, I've been in a comfortable position to be able to leave my family and know that they're generally safe and it's okay.
What would you say is your purpose at this stage in life?
My purpose at this stage is to truly just be myself. And for my family, that's really what it's leading back to. I spent years trying to like validate myself through like becoming whatever I thought I wanted to be, you know, and I'm very grateful for everything that I've been through. But yeah, once again, finding my true self is my purpose, and encouraging people, you know, because especially in this rap world, a lot of us come from insecure places where we like, fuck, I feel insecure and not satisfied with who I am. I want to create something bigger than myself. You know, I traveled the country, I talked to a lot of rappers, and this idea of making it that we were all sold on when we were young. You're gonna make it. What is making it? You know what I mean? And I know people that have succeeded massively, money, financially, fame, got all the things, but you know, they still don't feel like they've made it. Or what is that? You know, made it is a destination, and life is not about the destination. The only destination we've got is death, really. You know what I mean? Like
so that's making it.
But even then, I know the journey continues after there. Like the journey is going before we get here, and the journey continues afterwards. And that's really what it is. But one thing I've been sharing with so many artists as I travel, that, you know, in here is the destination, to find yourself and be centered in your energy. So really that's my purpose now, man. Like, I'm not a very financially driven person, and these days I'm not a fame driven person. I'm just a love driven person now, and I really just want to give love to the world as love for myself. I did carry a lot of pain for my life in different ways that I reflected on the world in different ways, and I'm just trying to find healthier outlets and express that, as well as, like, you know, due to the path I walk and the world I'm in, I see a lot of trauma everywhere. I see a lot of people stuck in these environments that are sick and toxic, going, why is there so much substance abuse? So my purpose is to figure it out, man. I love learning, and I really learn from all around the world, and pay attention. And I feel like I'm in the middle of a university degree of people. You know what I mean? Like, I haven't finished a grade officially since the 8th one, man, but I spend so much time with people, and I listen and learn. So I couldn't be more content in my life right now for how I understand people, for who I am, in the ways that I can plant seeds of love for people, you know. And every day I keep getting put in positions to share that love, you know, and every time I realise it's a blessing and it's another step forward in the path of God's plan for me, you know, and that's whatever that is. I know if I lead with love and, you know, put one foot forward every day, it'll put me in the right place to understand and learn from the world in a better place.
Bro, like understanding and knowing that you've made a positive impact on the trajectory of someone's life. Even sometimes it's cooler for them to not realize that you've done that, but when you know you've done that and you know that you did that solely for the fact of improving their life, like the feeling you get from that, at least I believe, is better than anything.
It really is, man.
You know, the amount of respect you have for yourself and just the impact that has on your own life, you know?
Yeah, I try to be mindful with myself in the sense of like doing it for what reason am I doing it for?
Right.
And this is a big part of shedding the ego for me, is because like, yeah, I talk about this stuff a lot, and it definitely could come across that it comes from a point of ego, you know. But for me, it's generally, you know, it was guilt driven. Like it was a lot of aspects of the good stuff I tried to do was to make up for the bad stuff that I did, because I did make lots of mistakes and I have hurt people. I have been mean to people. I have bullied people. I have, you know, all sorts of different things like that. And that was a product. All that behaviour was a product of reflection of pain that I was carrying through feeling bullied, through feeling rejected, through feeling dismissed, through feeling not acknowledged, every aspect of that. So, yeah, for me, man, it's just about navigating the world, bro. And I think we're at a point where we can see that the system doesn't serve us anymore. The people that run the system have horrific agendas. That, you know, it's blood money, man. Like, there's so much blood money in the world. Like, you know, all Western culture is built off the blood of other people, you know, and yeah, so I just try and find my own sovereignty, bro. That's the other thing. I'm just trying to find sovereignty, and I choose not to really fit into this system. And the worst they can do to me is put me back in prison, you know, like. And once I got to the bottom of prison and I realised, okay, this is the worst they can do to me. I'm not out here to hurt anyone. I'm not out here to fucking take from any person in that sort of sense. But I don't have any respect for the system.
Yep. What would you say to someone maybe in a situation like you were when you were younger, in a headspace that you were in? What would you say to that person that's struggling to find purpose?
Yeah, struggling to find purpose. And I don't want to directly just say find God. God is in you, you know. And if you can, and God is unconditional love. And when you're carrying hate towards someone, it's because there's an element of hate that you're carrying towards yourself. Through whatever that person did to you, or whatever reflection that you cast onto someone else based off the pain that you've been through. Finding love for yourself. And this is once again in Australia. Oh, he fucking loves himself. What's wrong with that? You know what I mean? And that's once again a product of that tall poppy syndrome, to bring it back through, is that to love yourself gets shamed out. But you have to find love for yourself. And what God really is what people don't understand, is unconditional love, forgiveness and acceptance. And you can forgive someone else, but you need to forgive yourself. You know, even like when someone abuses you, you end up hating on yourself for you allowing that to happen, or yourself putting yourself in that position, you know. Again. Yeah. And for me to forgive my abusers, I had to forgive myself first, you know, and that's where it starts, man. Once you start to forgive yourself, and you know, you get better at processing your emotions. I still get anger, I still get fucking rage, I still get little points of adrenaline. Like, there's some fucking dark shit in this world. Like, there's people I know that have done dark shit. I heard about this rapper that was treating women like shit, and fucking I just get this little vision of punching his head in. Boof, all of a sudden my heart's beating and I've got adrenaline, and I'm like, fuck. But I need to channel that, and I need to fucking go deal with it in a healthy way, rather than reflect it on anyone else. you know, and because one thing I learned that like I definitely had a bit of a sheriff or a shepherd mentality where I couldn't control certain situations in my own life based off trauma, so I projected that into controlling other things. And when I saw other people breaking the rules or doing the wrong thing, I went, hey, it's my job to stop it.
Right.
You know, my time in prison definitely taught me like I can't bash every fucking piece of shit, you know what I mean, or I'll be in prison forever.
Yeah.
You know, and it was morally confronting being in prison, being around people that I don't morally agree with, because the old me did want to flog them, but I had to realise at some point if I flog all these cunts, then I'm not leaving.
And
you know?
Does that fix the issue?
No, it doesn't. No, I really... And it's a fucking hard one because some crimes are fucking unforgivable, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I believe that all fucking negative behaviour comes from dehumanisation. You know what I mean? And objectification, you know, when you hurt someone, when you abuse them, you're treating them as an object. You know what I mean? Like, and you're
viewing them that way too.
And you're viewing and you're using them.
Yeah.
You know, abuse has got use in it. That's interesting. I haven't thought of that before. You know what I mean? Like, so when you're abusing someone, you are using them for whatever reflection that is. So yeah, I'd say to anyone that's struggling in any way, or anyone that's carrying pain and thinks fuck the world, fuck this, just understand that all pain in the world comes from like fucking human behavior, bro. And the idea of God is stepping away from that instinctual human behavior, you know, and like God is like, you know, our instincts are to fuck, fight and do everything else, you know what I mean? Take drugs because you want to escape, but love is a way to escape pain, man. And like since I've found God, I've been in some dark places and I've seen the hate in the place, I've seen the pain, and I'm like, fuck, these people need to find God. But I'm at a point now where I can be in that scenario and still hold love in my heart. I love these people, and even when they judge me or they misunderstand me, I forgive them because I can see the pain in their eyes and I can see what they're carrying, and I can see when you've been through so much pain. Bro, I hated the concept of what I'm talking about now because I was carrying the pain. I was like, fuck that shit. But I had to learn that. I got to this point in my life, I was like, I can choose to carry this pain, and that's what the crucifix is, man. It's that heavy weight. You know, and fucking, if you're carrying that crucifix on the way to get crucified, you know, you will crucify yourself by carrying that pain. And this is all this, you know, religion. Once again, humans put themselves above God and try and control. That's where it gets lost in the mix. And when I'm doing all this, sharing the word of God, and you know, I'm not trying to preach, but I am preaching in the sense of like. Give the cross to God, man. Let God carry the cross, because you can truly, when you go through enough pain in life and you've got a fucking heavy backpack full of trauma that's weighing you down every day, you know, we know what that older generation were like, the war veterans, you know what I mean? And they carried that to their grave, you know. They didn't enjoy there wasn't any way for them to heal because once again, humans didn't understand trauma back then. Now we're at a beautiful point where we have access to these sort of tools. We can, you know, you can if you're a young homeless person that's been through lots of trauma and you're out on the street and you've got a phone and that's all you got, you can still get on Wi-Fi and Google techniques on how to help heal yourself. You got to be resourceful, you know what I mean? If you don't want to feel pain anymore, you have to search for the healing. You have to search for the light, and it's out there, you know. Whether it's like looking on the internet, and because there's millions of people out there sharing their healing journeys and their techniques for it, or whether it's the people around you, you know.
How do you get that ball rolling? Because you know when you're in that place mentally, even if you want to get out of it, a lot of the time it seems impossible to take that first step or to find a reason to, you know. Usually
you got to go through something fucking hectic, man. You have to hit that point of where it's like I'm about to go kill myself, or you know what I mean, like and still you have days that are like fucking hard, you know, and I hope anyone can decide to take that journey, but you need to be in a situation where you go, there's no other option. I need to heal. You know what I mean? And yeah, you know, I really hope that for certain people, man. Like, I've talked to guys that have just killed someone about this sort of stuff, you know, and yeah, this is where, you know, you'll see a lot of people start to find God, man, because there's no other option. Once you get to a point in life where you've seen so much pain from humans, and, you know, like for example, your friend in that town is like, everywhere you go, you can't avoid it, man. The only fucking, when you look around left to right and there's only pain, you got to look up. And that's God, bro. You know what I mean? And that's how I find it, you know. And I keep connecting with the sun and the stars and the sky every day. And it keeps, you know, when I do look around and see that pain, I look up and the sun will pop out just at that perfect moment and go, it's all good. I'm like, sweet, you're with me. You know what I mean? And the more I tune in and stay that, I can feel my heart beating faster. I can feel my blood firing up, and I can feel God with me, and I feel safe. Yeah, it's beautiful.
There's a lot of power in. We've kind of spoken briefly about this before. I'm not currently religious. I'm not opposed to it in any way. I just don't know where I sit exactly. Keen to learn about different perspectives, you know. But one thing that's undeniable is there's a lot of power in religion in terms of your own mental clarity. You know, taking away so much anxiety about certain things and leaving it in the hands of whatever you want to call that next word.
The spirit, yeah.
You know, there's a lot of power in that.
Yeah, I think once again, religion is a word that still triggers me a bit because religion is the man-made spirituality. And I think that, once again, all spirituality is spirituality so long as it's led in a positive light. You know, I learn and practice from many different spiritualities from different backgrounds and different cultures, and so long as they're coming with love, man, I believe them, because that love is God, you know. Like, I will listen and learn. If someone is teaching me with love their experience and how they found the love in their life to share it with the world around them, that's what it is, and that's the real power. You know, for me, religion and the church and lots of that sort of stuff is humans trying to take the power of God and put themselves on these levels where they can dictate this and that. Only God can dictate, and that's the law of nature. And that's, you know, that leads back to what LORE is with Indigenous people. You know, their law is the law of the land. It's the law of nature. It's the balance, you know. And unfortunately, through to capitalism, religion, and government, there's no balance anymore. You know, these guys run shit. Churches don't have to pay tax, but your average man does. And the church wants to say that they're the people of God, you know what I mean? Like, that's shame, you know. They should be, churches should be paying tax, not the people. And the church want the people's money. You know what I mean? Like, it's just,
There's far too many, kind of, I don't want to, like, for lack of a better term, like, there's far too many horror stories that come from the churches for me, and I think a lot of people to be so open to the idea of, you know what I mean? God, because of the connection that is made with God and the churches.
Yeah, man.
What would you say to someone that is struggling to separate those two?
Those churches are fucking humans, man. They ain't God.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, all those horror stories come from humans. Humans abusing the word of God. God is unconditional love. These cunts get confused, and they use it as their power to fucking... I guess these people think, you know, oh, I'm a man of God, I can do what I fucking want in that sense, and hurt people and use people and abuse them. You know what I mean? Jesus was homeless, bro. You know what I mean? If you claim you're a Christian and you walk past a homeless person and you judge them, but you claim you praise Jesus,
I bet there's a lot of that.
Yeah, 100%, bro. I grew up in the church being fucking judged and abused. You know what I mean? Like, and I still see it to this day. I see so many, you know, like, I know this guy in Tassie called Peter James, and he's a beautiful fucking Christian. And churches didn't like him because he actually had love in his heart. You'd watch him walk into a church and he'd be like, hey, what's up, everyone? And boof, you watch the whole church judge him. He started his own church called the Church Without Walls because he was just so sick of getting judged in every church. When this guy was a beautiful man that had been through hectic things in life. He'd been through so much trauma that people can't even comprehend. And he's still walking around with his arms out calling everyone a beautiful human. You know, so that's where I just, those people, if you judge people and you don't have love, and don't get me wrong, I catch myself judging. And lately, this is how God's been working, man. Every time I start to judge someone, they'll look at me and go, hey, mate, how you going? And I'm, fucking got me there. Hey, I'm going all right, bro. And I have to, you know, and that's God's grace, man. That's the grace of God, because he forgives us for those moments, and he'll put us in that position to learn that lesson and go, see, I forgive you. It's all good. Keep leading with love. You know what I mean? And that's where I find it, bro. Because God's in everything. Every lesson, every situation you're in comes with a lesson and a blessing that you can find in it. The lessons within the blessing, and even the hardest situations that you have to go through to find God gives you the lesson that you realize is the blessing. I was blessed by going to prison. I was, you know, like,
100%, bro.
100%. And the bad shit that I did came from my human fucking instinctual, you know what I mean? That was not of God, you know. God is like, it's our frontal lobe in our brain that is in control of our decisions at the end of the day. Someone that's being violent, they're not thinking with this part of their brain, they're thinking with the back part of the brain. But if you think of the third eye, which is the open connection of love to the spirit realm, that's here. So the more that you get in control with your frontal lobe, and the more that you can restrain from your instincts, the more you're going to take steps forward to opening up your third eye and be completely connected with the world with love, which is the unity of God, and leading into the universe, which is the laws of attraction. You know, universe in Latin means turn towards unity. So if you can lead into the universe with God, it's only going to unite the world around you and unite yourself in here.
What do you think, or what has been the most challenging or confronting aspect of yourself that you've had to face and overcome?
My ego. Yeah, my ego, that's for sure. Questioning myself of why I've done what I've done for a long time. The validation and recognition that I thought I needed, you know, came a lot from a pain which was attached to ego, you know. And I still battle with it daily in different reasons, you know what I mean? There's situations that I go through where I can feel my ego perk back up, and I have to process that, you know. So yeah, that's really it. And it's an ongoing journey. It's not a destination. You can't just, my ego's done, it's gone, I'm sweet now. You know, it'll always rear up, depending on any situation you're in.
There's a lot of people, which I'm sure you've met, often ones that overindulge in psychedelics, that, you know, their ego is the fact that they don't have an ego, you know, and that actually, because they have their ego death and now they think that's it, like you were saying, forever now I've got no ego, but that becomes their ego, and they become more egotistical than they ever were before.
100%, man. I grew up with a lot of bush dolphin crew that, you know, same deal. I saw them being more catty and more fucking nitpicky than the people that they was going against, you know, and it's definitely an interesting one, because I really come with love and understanding for everyone. I have to choose to remove myself from people that don't love and understand themselves sometimes. I will still give them the time of day, and I'm happy to share in that sense. But I'm definitely just leading towards love, inclusive, open, understanding energy, and I really want that in the realm that I'm around. And that's why I'm really stoked on working with Breaking Bread Productions, man. Everything that I've like shared with those guys, like with T, the guy that's running it, but also everyone involved, Shining Armor, guys like Hyena Mufasa, you know. It's a really healthy, beautiful hip-hop scene that's inclusive. I don't feel like there's any fucking hierarchy in it. Everyone that's there is there for the same reason, to be open and give love and to build up as well, bringing back battle rap and connecting it with the breaking bread production movement that's happening at the moment. I really hope this uplifts the culture and it brings a fun element back into battle rap, because, you know, everyone that's battling, man, like, we've got a good group chat going, everyone's having fun, it's roasting, it's,
nice.
you know, it's got there's no bad taste in the mouth with it, man. Everyone that's coming down is excited to be a part of it. There's heaps of other artists moving down to Melbourne and coming down to be around this new exciting hub of healthy hip-hop, open, inclusive. It's love, man. We're all there for love. We're all there for the right reasons. And everything that Breaking Bread Productions is consistently doing and building and networking with different people from all different backgrounds, all different aspects. You know, we got like, you know, our crew, we've got like fucking Stavros from Greece, he's a videographer. We got Kai the Barber from New Zealand, you know what I mean? And everyone's coming together, tattoo artists, different producers, different, you know, it's all just, and I can see a whole new wave of really positive, inclusive people that care about the culture and are in it for the right reasons coming together. So April 6th, man, it's going to be sick.
April 6th.
It's going to build up. We've got, you know, Eric Devine versus Arrows, which is going to be a hectic matchup. We've got Uncle Encore versus Scrub. We've got Phoenix versus Harlem. You know, I'm going to battle Hoey.
Yeah.
And then we also got Sweats versus Verka, and, you know, both of those guys are hungry as fuck. It's going to be exciting, but
I'm keen, bro.
I'm so keen for the whole event, man. DJ Mishap is going to be doing a performance. Her and I are going to do a little fucking a special performance like we did at the last Breaking Bread show as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's all happening, bro. And this is everything. Like God is putting everything in the right place at the right time. And the more that I see people leading with that love and not with that ego, because ego is the opposite of God, man. You know what I mean? The more that I see this coming together, I see people that are, you know, whether they believe in God or not, they believe in good. And if we take the O out of good, it's God. You know what I mean? And if we put a D in front of evil, it's the devil, bro. And that's the thing. It's light and dark. It's all one. You know, it's a balance. It's yin and yang, man. And so when I'm talking about God, like, for people that are getting triggered, what's Greeley Bible bashing? You know what I mean? This is what I'm talking about. And I've had enough of the darkness in my life. So I'm being very vocal and open about walking the right path. And the more I talk about God and I see the people that are on the wrong path, they look at me and they look down and they walk away. I'm like, all good. I don't need you in my life if that's where you want to go, you know.
And if it helps, people can just view it as good, right?
Exactly.
If they're having trouble.
Yeah, man, God is good.
Yeah.
Good as God.
Something else I was wondering is, how do you think it's going to be received? So if there's a new wave of positive movement coming, there's a new wave of encouraging positive behaviors and positive coping mechanisms and just good, right? How is that going to be received by a country that is still so traumatized, or is still so egotistical, or still stuck in that place, you know?
It'll spread, bro.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the darkness spreads quicker. You know, we know that negativity can spread quicker. When something negative happens, everyone wants to talk about it. Look at the news. You know, see the news talking about the good things, and they haven't for years. You know what I mean? But I see people are waking up, man. People have had enough. So many people have had enough. And everywhere I talk to, and I talk to people, people have had enough of the pain that they're carrying. And we're now at a point where we have the internet, we can look, we can see what's happening in Palestine, we can see what's happening in the Congo, we see this fucking debauchery happening across the world, man. And we know it's not right. And it's, you know, to anyone with any empathy, they're realizing this, you know, and this is where it's at. It's time to wake up. You can choose to live your life of just sitting around doing nothing, or not leading with good love, or, you know, do whatever you want. Like, people, at the end of the day, they want to have fun. And I think at the moment, what we're doing is having fun, you know, and that's the thing. It's like, come over and have fun if you want to have fun. If you don't, that's all good too. You can go over there, you know, but yeah, that's where it is at, I think.
And who knows how many people, everything that you've shared here and everywhere else that you share that, who knows how many people that can potentially influence in a positive way.
100%, bro.
And then if they do the same thing, or even if 5% of them do the same thing.
100%, man. And I see, even in my personal life with, you know, the people that I'm aligning with right now, I'm seeing the word of God working through me in a way that, you know, God's powerful, man. Like, I've seen some shit already where I just say a couple words of God and then I watch that person's life change dramatically from that moment. You know, like, yeah, it's very interesting how powerful the word can be. And so, yeah, man, that's really it. I just hope that it continues to spread. I hope people wake up. I hope people get sick of the abuse. I hope people get sick of the mask and the glorification of negative behaviour, because they all know it. Like, in every trap house, there's that one cut in the room going, this is fucking bullshit. You know what I mean? And I hope that person wakes up and leads. And then one more person in that trap house might be like, yeah, he was right. This is fucking bullshit, you know. And you get to those moments, man, where you're all of a sudden, you're surrounded, especially with addiction, for example, you're surrounded by a bunch of people. You're like, why am I really here? Are these people my friends? And they're not, unfortunately. You know, you're all there out of like-minded things. And addiction comes from pain. And when you're all carrying trauma and you're all addicted, hurting each other's nothing. You already got pain. You know what I mean? Like, exactly, Whereas, you know, the more that we choose to sit in the love house or the God's house rather than the trap house, we're all there for the right reasons. We're only going to continually uplifting each other and pushing each other further rather than bringing each other down and shitting on each other and getting each other hooked on more drugs and all that sort of shit. Yeah, it's the same thing. I thought the people that used to get me hooked on drugs were my friends. Oh, what a sick cunt. No, unfortunately they weren't. God bless him, man. I wish him all the best. There's no, I forgive him, and it's all love. You know, like,
well, because you were I don't want to assume about you, but I know, at least from my experience, like, you were probably the same as them.
Yeah, I was,
encouraging, you know what I mean? So there's no hatred or spitefulness. It's more just, like you said, I just hope that you can get to the place that I'm on my way to. You know,
100%, bro.
Because it's not ill intentions. It's interesting when you spoke about on your vlog the trauma bond that people have with hip hop. The first time I heard that term, and I was kind of thinking about that, and I just ended up deciding, no, I'm not trauma bonded with hip hop, but I was trauma bonded with all my old friends. We were with each other. Our relationship, we all had, I hope Dad's not listening, kind of broken male role models in our life, or, you know, father figures. And that's where we bonded.
100%, man.
It was subconsciously. We never spoke about it. We all knew, but we all related over those similar struggles. And we all wanted to escape, and we just all encouraged that behavior within each other. You know?
Man. And I was exactly the same, bro. You know, I grew up without a connection to my father, you know, and he was struggling with his own trauma. And now my dad's 65, I'm 35, and I'm doing the healing with my dad now, bro. That's
good.
And awesome. Like, through taking my own healing journey and putting it out there, my dad has been healing massively. Because he gets to watch his son express the things that he could never express when he was my age because the environment wasn't right. And this is how we change the environment through action and leadership of love. By explaining ourselves. And, you know, if I have to be the one that puts my insecurities out there and talks deeply about how I've processed them for the sake of the people I love, understanding theirs and starting that healing journey, then I'll be that sacrificial lamb, man. Like,
and challenging that negative behaviour.
That's
when you're around that, instead of enabling it, not in an aggressive way, but just, you know, if they say something, challenge that.
That's it, man. I gotta be careful where I draw the line on the challenge, because, man, I've got the delivery, bro. All my years of battle rap, and once I get talking and I'm feeling the power of God working through me, man, I'll challenge you. And I won't let the devil hold my tongue either. You know what I mean? It's like, I know what's good. And I know you're hurting, and I know why you're doing this. I get it, and it's okay. I don't judge you. I love you, but this is why I'm saying this. You know, like, it's
that too far, and they will get defensive.
100%. Everyone's on their own journey. So I'm just getting better at using discernment in regards to where I can plant the seeds, give love. Because sometimes when you've got a wall up, man, and you're carrying that, you do need a bit of force to knock down the wall to start get behind it to start that journey. And, you know, if someone's ready, if someone needs their wall broken and come to me, fuck, I'll give it to you, bro. I'll fucking get that. I'll get that trauma out of you. I'll sniff it out like a bloodhound. You know what I mean? And I'll help you get rid of it. But you have to be ready to fucking let go, you know. And that's the hardest bit. Let go when you've carried pain for half your life, man. Letting go of it's the hardest thing. And that's what our parents' generation, you know. They're like, fuck, I'm in my 60s and I've got to start letting go, you know, because they're realising they don't want to go out like that. And, you know, my grandfather went out like that, you know, he didn't hug my mum for her entire life. My mum was able to, like, give him a kiss on the forehead just after he died, like, yep, gotcha, you know, but he was so emotionally unavailable through the trauma he went through. And this is where it gets passed down, you know, like, and all our parents that have broken or, you know, feel all that sort of stuff comes from their parents, it comes from them. And then once we get 6 generations back and you realise these people were sent out in a ship and whipped, you know, then you're like, oh, this is why it is. And, you know, or 2 generations back, then they were forced to go to World War One. You know, or Vietnam, and then get poisoned by Agent Orange and come back and their face rots off and the government doesn't do shit. You know what I mean? And then kids grow up watching their parents dying for fighting for their country when their country don't give 2 shits about them. You know, and so this is where we look, and we look around, and especially after World War One or World War Two in all Western countries, we're still dealing with that generational trauma handed down. Let alone the fucking frontier wars that only happened 100 years before then. It's hectic, man. We dismiss it so much. Oh, it's 200 years ago. That doesn't matter. You know what I mean? 100 years is a lifetime. You know, and 100 years you'll have, you know, a child, a parent, a grandparent, and a great-grandparent. That's 4 generations in 100 years. You know, and if we go 200 years, which is as long as Australia's been around for, that's only 2 lifetimes, man. It's crazy.
It's wild when you put it like that. But absolutely, bro. The trauma that anyone goes through. It's interesting you bring up Vietnam. I'm working with a guy at the moment, and he's in his 70s, and he was opening up to me about his father's life. And he said his father was taken as a prisoner in Vietnam. And he said what they did to torture them, he said they weren't even trying to get information out of him. They just wanted to fuck with him. They whipped him all day, cut all down the back of his body open, down his legs, his ankles, his back, his ass, everything. And then overnight would lock him up in a cell and pour salt water all over the ground. So you can't sleep. Because if you fall asleep, you're going to wake up instantly. And then the next day you're getting whipped again.
That was the darkest shit, man.
And then people wonder why this guy that I work with is angry. You know what I mean? I'm like, his dad, like, he's told me, he said his dad tried to kill him once. He threw a knife at him when he was 16. That's why he left. He never came back. And he's an angry guy, but I kind of saw through it straight away. And it's something about him I connected with. And I really like this guy, you know. But no one understands him. Everyone thinks, oh, I won't say his name, but, oh, you know, he's grumpy. Oh, he's an arsehole. Oh, he's this. I'm like, man, if you lived the life he lived, like, you'd be an arsehole too.
Once again, man, we got it when people are carrying that pain, and I'm getting better at it. I forgive them. You know, I don't take it personally.
It's not personal.
It's not. They've got, as you know, they've got what's going on in their head. You know, and we've got what's going on in our head, and we make it about us. You know what I mean? And that's where, like, some people, like I say, God bless to a lot of people, man. Now, and I can see the ones that think I'm full of shit. I can see the ones that fucking take it, but I can see the ones that are carrying too much pain, and they're like, don't talk to me about that. I've seen too much in my life. But, you know, I hope for the people out there that are listening that have seen too much in their life, they can understand that God is the way to let go of that pain, give your pain to God, and allow the presence of the universe to love you, because it's there. It's there. You can find it, you know, but you have to start that journey.
I think that's beautiful, bro.
Thank you, brother.
I think that's probably a beautiful way to end this, man, to leave on that note.
For sure, brother.
And I hope, you know, over time with your own vlog, with this podcast, with everywhere else you go, that we start seeing some real change.
For sure, brother.
A lot of the hurt people.
Well, man, I've seen change in my personal world.
That's
you know,
good.
Like, there's my mate Kane Richardson. I watched him turn his life around. I've seen so many positive butterfly effects from pouring love out, man. And if one person can take something, and I can once again change myself to a positive way, it's all worth it, bro. And yeah, that's my intention, man. And I just want to say much respect to you, bro. Everything that you're doing with yourself, what you're putting out to the world. Moving down to Melbourne, networking and getting amongst it, bro. I can tell you've got a really good heart.
Thanks, bro.
You're trying to find yourself as well as find a world that you can fit into and connect with like-minded people that are passionate for the right reasons, And everything you're doing with this podcast is perfect, man. I can see you really...
I appreciate that.
I can see your intention unfolding out around. And, since I met you only a couple of weeks ago, bro, and at the Breaking Bread show, I could just see how much you're enjoying it. And, yeah, man, all the power to you, bro. God bless, because I feel that your journey is going to be quite divine in where it goes. And the more that you pay attention to this, you're going to be like, wow. And I see yourself influencing some positive change in the world around you. And the more that you network and you uplift yourself by connecting with people on the right path, it's only going to be reciprocated.
Thanks, bro. That maybe you do know, but that means a lot to me, and maybe more than you would understand coming from yourself.
100%, bro. That's why I said it, man. Because I do realise I'm very blessed to have this position of authority in the world that I walk through what I've achieved, So that's my intention is, for you giving me space to share my journey is to plant some seeds with you, man, and give you... And this is it. We need to give each other love. We need to give each other acknowledgement, bro. And so it was my intention just then to acknowledge you, bro, and uplift you and empower you that way, because if we don't get seen and we just walk past and, that's where... we're objectified. We're just seen as another fucking, and that's what happens with homeless people. There's no difference between them and a post box. People walk past them just the same. Yeah. They're the same as objects, not humans that need to be acknowledged, need to be understood.
It's interesting. Maybe we should wrap it up, but there's a couple things that I'd like to chat about after, if you can. But,
of course.
Thanks so much for coming on, bro.
You're very welcome, bro. We'll do another one in a month, bro. We'll keep it pumping, man. I'm keen to keep networking, keen to keep connecting, keep yarning, bro.
There's a lot more I want to ask, so I'm keen for another one, bro.
Thank you very much, Lewis.
Yeah, thanks so much. All right,
bro.
Much love. Peace.
Much love. Peace.
Fuck yeah. Fuck now. I already forgot that same fucking thing I was going to ask.
You're right, bro. Hip hop is good. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'll say this. So.
Yeah. Big Reels, THC. Shout outs to Breaking Bread Productions. Shout outs to Discover Hip Hop. Come down to the battles April 6th. Let's go. Hey. Yeah, bruz. I know what it is. Guess I'm getting old and I'm over the trip. Had too many mates overdose of the bricks. What I lost in psychosis for token the pip. Age to the throne, I still show what I've been. A struggle's a struggle, I hope that it lifts. But so many kids know the flows that we spit. They think that it's dope for promoting that shit. Yeah, gets me feeling depressed. Feels like my head is in need of a rest. Proud of the people I push to believe to the rest of the scene. Now the scene is the best. Rap can be good and evil, I guess. There's a side of the scene that could lead you to death, while the other side's working the grinder behind the scenes to try and at least clean up the mess. Doesn't matter what shit you do, so long as all the people are talking. Doesn't matter if your image is true, just wanna get that little release of endorphins. It's haunting. Look at all the shape that it draws in. Course nobody didn't heed the reward in the streets of Orford. I can see the tour, but for respect that's like it that it needs importance. But if we keep reporting, call it what it is and at least support it, the people will begin to see the faults between the strong message and the weak performance. Anybody that is running their lips under nothing but support, but of course they'll talk poor form when it comes pucker up and jump shit. But be crushed by the ones I was covered up with. Been the one to bring them all together, run it that quick. Made a branded that I showed them how to build it up quick. A lot of people want to work, they want to cover that shit. Seen the nature of the game with all the brothers that split. Had enough of that shit. They cover up with the same mask we are wear, but we're stuck in that grip. I'm gonna when I get another brother that splits, but I'll never give up, kind of for the love and that's it. Had a lot of good, but a bit of done a bad trip. Never give another fuck up, I'm gonna cut it back quick. Gotta pick another up and coming, got a rap kid that can stomach it when they coming up and crack ribs, yeah. Big reels been around, don't really give a fuck if you fear to my sound. I live for connection, to gain more perspective, and that's why I still keep my ear to the ground. And I hope that you know that I'm hearing you loud. Real know what I've been clearly about. Ain't gonna waste time for snakes that play nice but bite and leave wounds that I'm cleaning them out.